In this tutorial, we're going to talk about proof of play. Proof of play is a type of report that the system can generate for you, so you can export the data out of the Signage Studio and provide this report to your advertisers so they can see when their ads actually played out. And the way you configure proof of play is that you simply enable any resource or component on the timeline with the proof of play feature. You can even enable proof of play on specific catalog items or specific collection items. So really, proof of play can be enabled on anything. Another neat feature of the proof of play is the ability to create local ad packages. For example, if you have an advertiser, let's say Pepsi, and you want to have different ads that are going to be associated with Pepsi, you can simply create a group name or a package name called Pepsi and associate the different resources or different components in your timeline with the ad package Pepsi. Also, you can create start and end dates for the group. So if you have a particular ad group that you want to expire on a specific date, the local ad package will allow you to do that. And finally, with rate tables, you can associate different rates for different hours of the week. This means that once the information is exported into Excel, you can inject additional information that will provide you all the necessary calculations so you know what to charge your customers or your advertisers. So let's go ahead and jump into the Signage Studio and see how to configure proof of play. So the first thing you must do is enable proof of play under your enterprise account. Log into your enterprise account, go to privileges, and enable the add local, add rate, and add analytic. This will allow you to configure proof of play within your local account. Go ahead and save the configuration right here on top and log back into your standard Signage Studio. And so here under the Signage Studio, we'll go ahead and add under navigation the local ads as well as the ad analytics. Go back to the timeline and create a brand new clean campaign called our demo campaign. And notice over here that if we go and add a resource, just an image, over here under the properties of that image we have proof of play, and we can enable the proof of play over here with this checkbox. Now what this means is that we're requesting information about this particular ad or this particular resource anytime it plays. And you can see that we have a label, and we can label this anything we want. So we can call this our coffee ad, and also a package or a group name. Now a package again is just a collection where you can associate multiple ads or multiple components under a single local ad package. So let's go ahead and add a new ad package. We'll click on the plus sign right here. And so by clicking on the plus sign, we've created a new package directly from the timeline component, and this new package is called new package. So let's go ahead and call this our coffee ads and press enter. And now I'll add another ad. So I'll go back to the timelines, select another resource. This time it's going to be a video. Put the video right here on channel 1. And again, under its properties, under proof of play, enable it. And this time I'm going to go ahead and call this my Starbucks ad and press on enter. And again, set the package, but this time I'm not going to click on the plus sign because I don't want to add a new ad package. I just want to pick an existing ad package. So I'm going to select my coffee ads that we've added earlier. And then we can jump back into local ads and confirm that both the coffee ad and the Starbucks ad are both under the coffee ads package. So we have two ads, which again could be videos or images or clocks or QR. It could be pretty much any component, and they are both under the coffee ads package. Now notice if we look over here to the right, we have the always play and play only between dates. So obviously if always play is set, anytime these resources appear on the timeline, the coffee ad or the Starbucks, they will play. But if we set a play only between dates, any ad that is associated with this local ad package is going to play only if it's within the set date. So if, for example, we set the end date to be the end of the month, any resource that is part of this ad package would only play on the timeline if the date falls in between the set dates. Now, if the particular resource is out of the set dates, it's not going to play. We recommend that you set the channel to repeat to fit so you don't get time where nothing is playing. So I'll go ahead and show you that. So go back to the timeline and go ahead and click on the channel properties and make sure that repeat to fit is set, so if this particular resource is expired, other resources or components will be able to fill the gap. Now, again, if this particular resource does expire, it will still exist on the timeline, so you will still have to go in there and delete it if you don't want it to really take space on your timeline, but it will not be part of your regular timeline playback if, again, it's part of a local ad package that has expired. And so we've learned that local ads are nothing more than just a group of the total sum of resources and components that you have set, and you can set a start date and end date for all these different resources and components, so they will start and they will expire on the same time. Now let's go ahead and try this with a component. Go to the timeline, and this time instead of selecting a resource, we'll go to components, and we'll go ahead and select the QR code, put that on the timeline, and just like anything else, you can enable the proof of play. Call this our coffee QR and set the coffee ads. Go back to the local ads, and sure enough, here it is. There's also another great benefit to using local ad packages, and that is when it comes to reporting. If you, for example, create these coffee ads, and instead of calling these coffee ads, we'll call it Joe's Coffee Ads, and press enter. And Joe is an advertiser that advertises within this digital signage network. And so by giving this Joe's Coffee Ads a name that identifies all of Joe's ads within all the different timelines, we will be able to create a report at the end of the month specifically for Joe and specifically for his ads. So essentially, local ad packages allow you to associate related ads together as a single group. So far, everything we've done was either at the resource level or the component level. However, there are two special components that you can actually enable the proof of play at a more detailed level. These would be the catalog and the collection components. So I'll go ahead and switch back to the timelines, make a little bit more room here. And if I go ahead and take the catalog, for example, and if I drag over the catalog, you can see that you can, just like anything else, enable the proof of play for the catalog at the component level. However, what you can do with the catalog is you can also create the proof of play at the specific item level. So I'll go ahead and switch over here to the catalog, and I'll go ahead and drag over 3 items. And this time I can enable the proof of play, but at the level of the catalog. So I can just give it any name I want. And so now I have 3 items that are part of the catalog that are going to report back the statistics, just like components or resources on the timeline. So the catalog allows you to get analytics on items that run within the catalog. And same goes for the collection component. If we switch to the timelines and select the collection, drag and drop it to the timeline. Again, you can enable just global proof of play for the collection as a whole, or you can do it specifically for items. So if I double click on it to load up the properties of the collection, go ahead and make a little more room here. Go over here to the items, switch to my either scenes or to resources. Now I can, just like before, enable proof of play for specific items within the collection. Name them anything I want, so this information will be presented in the final monthly analytics. Just like before, associate the different local ad package, and that's it. So I've added proof of play to both catalog items and collection items. Now, if you're not familiar with these particular components, I do recommend that you watch the video tutorials specifically for the catalog and the collection components. Now, just to prove that we did in fact add the collection and the catalog into our Joe's ads, we'll switch into the local ads, and sure enough we see that everything was added into Joe's Coffee Ads. And so now that we've built our proof of play on our demo campaign, we can confirm that it is running on one of the stations. This is Roy's Restaurant, and you see that it's green and it's working, and it is running our demo campaign that's enabled with proof of play. And I should mention that the information will get sent from the players to the server every 10 minutes. So if you're going to wait for analytics, you want to give it at least 10 minutes for the information to populate on the ads analytics. Also, if the player loses internet connectivity, it will buffer all the information and save it locally, and when the internet connection comes back online, it will go ahead and push that information to the server so you never lose any analytics and always get the proof of play for your advertisers. And with that, let's go ahead and switch to our ads analytics and see what the player is reporting back to us. So we'll switch over here to ads analytics and select the month that you want to see the report for. In this case, we'll select this month and click on refresh. And sure enough, we're getting all the reports back from the remote signage player. And so here we're presented with all the information, and right now we're viewing all the details, so we're getting a lot of information. Let's go ahead and first of all show only the information from the station that we're interested in, which is really just one station that's on right now. So you can, for example, aggregate information only by stations. So you can see there's a total of 60 ads that ran for a duration of 53 minutes on Roy's Restaurant at this particular station. If, for example, you only want to show information for a particular local ad, I can again group it specifically for packages. You can see that now we don't see the station name, but instead we're aggregating or grouping the information specifically by a package name. So again, same thing, 60 ads for a duration of 53 minutes. If, for example, you wanted to only show the specific content or the ads themselves, we can go ahead and provide that information as well. So now we're seeing the package and the ads, and again we can sort. So we're looking at Joe's Coffee ads right here, and you can see the specific ads. You can see how many times each ad ran and for how long each ad ran, and also the average size in megapixel. Now this is actually a very interesting value. The average size in megapixel will actually tell you what was the actual size of the ad inside the screen division that it ran. For example, if you wanted to charge an advertiser a different rate if you had a very small ad that ran in a very small screen division, and let's say you wanted to charge an advertiser a lot more money if it ran in a full screen or a much larger size screen division. And so the average megapixel will give you that information. And so to further explain what the average size in megapixel means, let's imagine that you're going to run an ad at a full screen of 1920 times 1080. So you can see you got a pretty big number here, and so what we'll do is we'll divide it 1 million to get the actual megapixel in mega, which is basically million, and divide it so you get 2.07 megapixel. So if you get an average size, for example, of 2.0 megapixel, you know that this particular ad ran at a full screen of 1920 by 1080. So obviously a 0.32 would be much smaller megapixel, so you have a much smaller screen division. And so this will give you the actual value to know how big or small the ad actually ran within the presentation. Now if I switch over here to my screens, for example, and I select my screen division 3, you can see right here that if I select my demo screen, it is set to be 1920 by 1080. Now if I'm going to run it on a much smaller configuration, for example, let's say I'm going to run it on a 1280 by 720 screen, so I'm going to run a demo screen that it was actually built for 1920, but I'm actually going to run it on a much smaller screen. The system is smart enough to actually calculate the megapixel not by the demo screen size that you've created, but by the actual size that it ran at the location. So always remember that the megapixel is calculated by the actual size of the display that it runs on, and not by the width and height that's configured under screens, so you get the real value. Now going back to the analytics, you can see that all the information is also summarized here at the bottom bar of the analytics module. If you wanted to export this information into Excel, into a CSV, that's easy to do. Simply select all the different values that you want, select export report, and simply export it to your desktop where you can open it directly from Excel. If you wanted to delete a report, if you're just messing around or just want to delete information, you can simply select the report that you want and click on delete report. And finally, we're going to talk about the rates tables. With the rates tables, you can create different rates for different hours of the week. This means that, for example, if you wanted to charge more for ads that run on the weekend than you do for ads that run on the weekdays or at different hours of the day, you can set all this up with the rate tables and then associate these rate tables with physical signage players out in the field. So the first thing we want to do is enable the rates module. Go to navigation and select the add rates. And over here under the add rates, we're going to add two tables. We'll call our first table our rate 1, press enter, and then add the second table and call it our rate 2 table, and press enter. Now for each rate table, we can set 4 different levels of rates. So what we'll do is we'll select our rate table 1, and let's say that on the weekends we actually want to charge $8 per hour. So we'll select the red and just mark Sunday and Saturday. So on Saturday and Sunday, anytime pretty much, we're going to charge $8 per hour for the rates. Next, we're going to want to set a rate of $5 an hour, but only when the business is open during the weekdays. So we'll select the blue and mark from 8 o'clock in the morning till 7 o'clock in the evening, a $5 rate. And for the rest of the hours of the week, when the business is closed, we're actually going to set it at 0, so we're not going to compute any rate. Now for our second table, we can do something very simple and just set $6 an hour and then mark the whole week. So it's really flexible and you can really divide the hours any way you like. Just remember that you have 4 levels to set and always the unit is going to be an hourly rate. Now once you've set up your rate tables, you need to associate the rate tables with physical stations out in the field with the actual signage player. So we'll switch over to stations, we'll select a particular machine, and then we'll switch over here to the advertising tab and select the rates tables. Now in this case, we're going to select rate 1 and click on File, Save to save our work. And so now that we've associated the station with the rate table, we can switch to Add Analytics and look at the report that we're getting back from the physical machine. Click on the refresh over here. And so since right now it's a weekday during normal business hours, we're getting an hourly rate of 5. And so one more thing I wanted to mention as far as the rates is the actual price that's computed for you right over here in this column, depending upon how many hours the ad actually ran, and of course the price that you've set per hour. Now looking at our coffee ad, we can see the duration of this ad has been only 3 minutes and 59 seconds, so it really didn't run for too long. But if, for example, this ad ran for 1 hour, then the advertiser would need to pay $5. If the ad would run for 2 hours, then the advertiser would need to pay $10. But again, because the ad ran for a lot less than an hour, only 3 minutes or closer to 4 minutes actually, then he doesn't have to pay that much. Now you'll notice as soon as I refresh, you'll notice that now the advertiser owes 74 cents because again it ran for longer, for 8 minutes or closer to 9 minutes. And so this value right here, the price, would be computed for the total sum of the different hourly rates that you've set in your rates tables, and again accordance with how many hours the ad actually ran or displayed on the screen. And as I mentioned earlier, all this information can be exported to Excel as a CSV file where you can further massage it and create reports and graphs out of it. Also, you can see over here on the bottom the average hourly rate for the current selected report. And so to summarize, the rate tables is a flexible way for you to inject hourly rates into your reports and then calculating the price depending upon the rates that you've set. So I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and thanks for watching.